Podcast City Network. Hey guys, it's Chris, and we are live for another episode of Final Score, episode 49. It's going to be a great one. As you can see, though, there is no Craig today. It is just this guy. You only get me, so I got to hung up all my Notre Dame stuff, so haha. Anyways, it's going to be a great show. A lot of great stuff that we're going to talk about, but make sure that if you're going to follow all things Final Score, that you have to go follow us on all of our social media accounts, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. All you have to do is go on any of those platforms and search at PCN Final Score right here above my head, and go and give us a like, give us a follow, let us know how we're doing, leave us a rating. You know, we try to bring the very best that we can with or without our co-host. That way we can make it happen. It's my turn now since Craig did it not that long ago, so we'll see how it goes. But also make sure that if you want to hear our lovely voices week in and week out talking about the very latest sports news, you have to follow us on all of our content platforms, and they're all right there down below: YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Stitcher, and of course Google Podcasts. Right down there, follow the arrows. All you have to do is go on there and search keyword Final Score, one word, and go give us a like and a follow and let us know how we're doing, because like we said, we try to bring the very best we can, and I think this is going to be a pretty fun show. But to see all the stuff that we do, you can also check out our parent network, Podcast City Network, on social media, on their myriad of different platforms that they're on as well, including on Facebook at facebook.com/Podcast City Network, on Twitter at Podcast City Net. You can also find them on YouTube by searching keyword Podcast City Network. And of course, they have a website, podcastcity.net, and you can find Final Score there as well at podcastcity.net/Final Score. So I promised that we were going to have a lot of craziness today. Sadly, because of technical difficulties last night, we are unable to present the interview we originally had planned, but we'll have it later this week. So definitely make sure you check back with all things Final Score, and we'll be able to update you on that when more information is available. Because sadly, I lost power last night. Things happen, but at the end of the day, we will bring that interview to you as soon as we can. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the top of everything, and we're going to start by taking a look at the celebration of life that was for Kobe and Gianna Bryant, as well as the other victims of the horrific helicopter crash that happened not too long ago at the end of January. And it was a really crazy situation for a lot of people to deal with. However, they put on this memorial as a celebration of life after they had already had a private memorial back on February 7th. So they ended up holding a 2.5-hour memorial at the Staples Center in LA on February 24th. I'll get the numbers out eventually, which were also in honor of both Kobe and Gianna and the numbers they wore during their time playing basketball. And it was put on by the LA Lakers and Kobe's Mamba and Mambacita Sports Foundation. So a really great event, huge turnout. They've sold a lot of pre-sale tickets to this as well for fans to be able to come and be a part of this. And it was really, really a nice event that they had. Had a lot of musical performances by Beyonce, who sang XO, which was one of Kobe's favorite songs. Alicia Keys also performed a rendition of Moonlight Sonata, and Christina Aguilera came out to save Ave Maria in tribute to Kobe. And a lot of great guest speakers, and some of it was hard to, sit through a little bit, especially with Michael Jordan getting as teary-eyed as he did, talking about his little brother and Kobe. But Vanessa Bryant also came on and eulogized her late husband and daughter. Definitely sad to see how everything has worked out with this event that took place, but nice to see a celebration of life and everybody able to come together and try and find a little closure in the situation. Definitely not an easy one to deal with in any way, shape, or form. Me and myself as a parent, I know it would be extremely hard for me to try and deal with that, but at the end of the day, this is what we have, and everything to Kobe. Basketball great, and definitely going to be a great surefire Hall of Famer, and all the work that he did in basketball as well. So it's really great stuff. But moving on, we're going to take a look at what's happened with a lot of the recent NFL collective bargaining agreement negotiations. A lot of things are getting kind of crazy with all the negotiations that have been going on, and now we're getting to the point where things are starting to get pushed and people are pushing back. So with the new CBA details, if you don't know, it has been proposed for a 17-game regular season schedule for all the teams. This also includes reducing the preseason games from 4 down to 3. This will also add an additional playoff team per conference, with only one team getting a bye per conference. So in that type of scenario, you would end up with 6 wildcard games the first weekend. With only one team having a bye and everybody advancing at that point, with the number 1 seed playing the number 7, or the lowest seed at that point, with the lowest being the 7th seed. You'll also see a wider tagging period for the franchise transitioning tags that we see every season, which is going to be widened by literally mere days in a lot of cases. So not too impactful, but this one would be more impactful, and that changes the profit sharing for players, which currently stood at just over 47%, will now be increased to 48.5% to offset the fact that there's now a 17-game schedule. Drug testing also, the window for drug testing from the preseason will be reduced from the multiple months that it is down to 2 weeks before the season, along with changes to THC-related substance policy violations. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this gets implemented. This was already passed by the NFL owners, who honestly have been the ones really pushing the CBA more than anything. The NFL Players Association ended up approving it by a very slim vote on Wednesday night after already having a vote last week and not wanting to deal with the situation yet, feeling that aspects of the CBA were not player friendly enough. So definitely very interesting. And a lot of players, now that the Players Association has passed this to the Players Union, many star players have come out against the proposed CBA, including J.J. Watt, Aaron Rodgers, Richard Sherman, Russell Wilson, Michael Thomas now has even come out in the past couple of days. So it's very interesting to see the dynamic here. A lot of players do not want to play a 17-game schedule in fear mainly of injuries and the wear and tear it generally will have, because now these owners are really going to be pushing to make sure they're going to get every dollar they can out of these teams. So it's going to, or out of these players, I should say. So it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of this will progress. Given now that we have to send this to the Players Union to vote on for potential ratification, which could happen in the next week. However, we are seeing an interesting dynamic, and this is something eventually me and Craig will probably talk about on a future episode, maybe episode 50. But there's a clash right now amongst high-profile players and basically what you can consider no names of the league, your backups and lesser-known players, over how this CBA could affect them. Because with the CBA, it benefits players that aren't really well known and aren't mainstay names and really putting themselves out there as much as the Drew Breeses, the Tom Brady's, the Michael Thomases, the J.J. Watts of the world, who are going out there and putting it out on the line week in and week out for all their fans in the NFL. So it's very interesting to see this power struggle now inside the Players Union, which really has left the entire decision of how this will turn out. You can't sit here and predict it. It's impossible, because with how the voting could go, it literally can swing either way. So in the event, though, that the CBA is not ratified by the Players Union, we will revert to the actual CBA that is currently standing, that was signed and began in 2011. That was part of the 10-year CBA. We do have 1 year left, and they would basically go back to the drawing board for certain aspects of the CBA to make it more player-friendly, to be able to have something ratified before going into the following season, which would be the 2021 season. Because if they don't have anything by then, we could be looking down the barrel of a lockout, which nobody really wants. We want our football, and it's nice that we have the XFL, but at the end of the day, we all really want that NFL football. So it's going to be interesting to see how this entire situation will play out. Definitely make sure that you keep up on all things Final Score, and we'll definitely bring you the latest updates as they become available. So to do so, you have to follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Give us a like, give us a follow, and make sure to give us a share. That way you can bring all your friends in as well. So definitely going to be interesting. But looking at some XFL action, definitely been a lot of things going on in that realm. With a lot of teams now starting to kind of show what they have. The LA Wildcats ended up taking on the New York Guardians yesterday, and after the LA Wildcats' huge win by 30 points over the DC Defenders, they ended up coming out and ended up losing on the road to the New York Guardians at MetLife Stadium, falling 17-14. Definitely going to be very interesting how this will continue to shake out, because I feel like a lot of these teams are very showing Jekyll and Hyde style mentalities, where they might show up one week and then not the next, unless you're the Tampa Bay Vipers, who are currently 0-3 and have a game later today at 7 p.m. that we'll talk about here in a little bit. However, the other Saturday game, the Seattle Dragons ended up traveling to St. Louis to take on the Battlehawks in the Dome. Battlehawks ended up walking away with this one 23-16 and are now 3-1 on their campaign. It's definitely a wonderful start. And those, God, I say it every time, those helmets, just so good. Love those helmets. Really good stuff. But definitely going to be interesting. The XFL season thus far, honestly, has been, in my opinion, pretty entertaining, even though there hasn't been a great standout when it comes to quarterbacks, except for maybe 2 or 3 players. But it'll definitely be interesting. And, we'll be able to see a little bit more of it showcased today as the 3-0 Houston Roughnecks take on the 2-1 Dallas Renegades in Dallas, 4 p.m. on FS1. So definitely make sure you check that one out. It's going to be exciting. I think this one has the potential to have a little bit of a shootout quality to it. So could see a little bit of scoring here. And now this could end up become a natural rivalry as well, as this is now the battle for Texas in the XFL. So we'll see how it plays out. I think Houston will end up taking this one by only a narrow margin. I will say under 10 points, since it's so hard to predict these games now with the scoring format. But I think Houston will end up taking it in a close matchup. But then we also have the DC Defenders at 2-1 after having that shocking loss to the LA Wildcats on the road. Go on to take on 0-3 Tampa Bay Vipers, who have not been able to get out of starting blocks, but have shown progress every single week. So it'll be interesting to see how this game will shake out. It'll be at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. Definitely make sure you check it out. The Tampa Bay Vipers looking to finally get their first win of the season under Mark Trestman, and it's going to be interesting. The DC Defenders coming off that huge loss. This could definitely be a huge bounce-back game for them, or maybe they suffer the same fate and end up losing to the hapless Tampa Bay Vipers, but we'll definitely see tonight on ESPN2. So going to be some good stuff. A lot of good stuff on tap today, as well as, the Podcast City Network 2-year anniversary show. That's right, fans. The Podcast City Network 2-year anniversary show is finally going to be happening March 7th of 2020 at City Limits Tap Room, 2620 North Woodland Boulevard in beautiful DeLand, Florida. Definitely make sure that you go check it out. This is going to be a great event, because this is also part of the Seven Kingdoms Hometown Throwdown concert with bands Rendered Abstract and Thicket playing in support. Going to be an amazing day. And oh yeah, the return of Draft Day. That's right. We're bringing Draft Day back yet again for another installment at City Limits Tap Room. Going to be an amazing time. So if you want to be part of this event, all you have to do is go ahead, come on down to City Limits on March 7th. Cover charge is only $10, and all ages are welcome. So definitely make sure that you come down and check it out. It's going to be great. Doors will be at 8 for the concert. But if you want to check out the Podcast City Network side of things, we're going to be going live on the the Podcast City Network Facebook page at facebook.com/Podcast City Network. And we'll be having interviews starting at 5 o'clock with all of the bands. So at 5 o'clock, we're going to be going live with one band. At 6 o'clock, we go live with another. And then 7 o'clock, we go live with another. It's going to be insanity. But during that 7 o'clock hour, we'll also be holding Draft Day with Derek the Beer Guy, who will be coming in to bring us his best brews from City Limits Tap Room, and it's going to be great. A lot of great stuff going on. We're also going to have Everett Lee from the Everett Lee Show down there. He's going to be joining us as well. It's going to be a lot of great fun, so definitely make sure that you come out. Again, it will be March 7th, 2020 at City Limits Tap Room, 2620 North Woodland Boulevard. Make sure you come join us. It's going to be amazing. Really going to be amazing. And there's the flyer one more time. Make sure to check it out. Ingrain it in your memory. Took a lot of work to put that thing out. So definitely make sure you check it out. A lot of great stuff. A lot of great stuff. All right. But at this time, we're going to move on to a little bit of sports history. I know I'm kind of flying through the show today, but we only got so much to cover. And it's hard when I don't have my co-host to yell things at. And, maybe he just wanted to give up this week. Maybe he just came up with a little fib because he knew that being a Detroit fan, could be painful. Just saying. Anyways, excuse me. So for sports history, we're going to hit it right from the top. March 1st, 1903, Major League Baseball Rules Committee rules that pitcher's mound must not be more than 15 inches higher than the baseline or home plate, definitely affecting how pitchers were throwing the baseball in that time. March 2nd, 1951, the first NBA All-Star game takes place at the Boston Garden as the East team beats the West team 111-94 with MVP Ed McCauley of the Boston Celtics. Definitely a crazy game for the first NBA All-Star game. To think that we're sitting here now almost 70 years later. March 2nd, 1962, the Philadelphia center Wilt Chamberlain scores 100 points, most ever by an NBA player in a single game against the Warriors as they win 169-147. Oh, wow, I actually just skipped around. Look at that. Against the New York Knicks in Hershey, Wilt Chamberlain shot 36 of 63 from the field and 28 of 32 from the free throw line in that amazing 100-point game. March 6, 1985, Mike Tyson KOs Hector Mercedes in the first round in his first pro fight. Dude, Mike Tyson, that guy is a beast. Like, it's crazy to even think and look back with the kind of lineage he has to even think in his first fight. Oh, yeah, what'd he do? First round knockout. So March 7th, 2016, Peyton Manning announces his retirement from the Denver Broncos and the NFL, bringing to an end the illustrious career that included 2 Super Bowl rings and many, many passing records. Definitely remember that day very vividly. And then March 8th, 1971, Joe Frazier ends Muhammad Ali's 31-fight winning streak at Madison Square Garden. He ended up retaining the heavyweight boxing title by unanimous points decision over 15 rounds. That was in a fight dubbed the fight of the century. So definitely a huge moment in boxing history. So now at this time, we're going to go ahead and move on and hit you with a little bit of give or go. That's right. I'm going to argue with myself because I do not have Craig here. So we'll see how this goes. Only a few topics today. So first things first, we're going to start out Wilder versus Fury and Wilder's excuses for his loss. We are definitely going to give on this a little. Wilder, though, has already come out and declared that there will be a rematch as part of the contract they signed for their second fight. Both sides had the right to invoke an immediate rematch clause regardless of the outcome of the fight, which Fury obviously ended up winning by a TKO in the 7th round and then won the WBC title. So with that, Wilder ended up coming out and blaming his entrance attire for losing the fight. He tried to claim that since he had to wear this over 40-pound get-up for such a long period of time, stating that he had to wait 15 to 20 minutes backstage wearing most of this gear and then put the helmet on and walked out, had to walk up the ramp, walk into the ring, do his little strutting, and then finally started taking everything off, said that it tuckered him out and he lost his legs and blamed all of that on why he ended up losing this fight. I've heard of a lot of excuses in my day of why people have been unable to achieve XYZ goal, but at the end of the day, blaming your entrance attire for you losing the WBC title and getting your first loss ever, I don't know if I go that far, man. Like, maybe you're in denial about the fact that you actually finally lost the fight and you lost to Fury. But you'll be able to get that rematch and you'll be able to hopefully come back and prove yourself worthy. But I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting, so we'll see. But at the end of the day, I still think Fury is going to retain. So I think he's going to get a second loss, whether or not you're going to have that little uniform on. So we'll see how it plays out. Next, give or go. CBS is going to retain analyst Tony Romo at $17 million annually, which is one of the richest commentator contracts there is. And we are going to give on this because I hated on Tony Romo for so long, mainly because I am an Eagles fan. But at the end of the day, Tony Romo, the analyst, is absolutely amazing, and I love it because he's being given currently a 3-year deal to remain at CBS as part of their football lineup, which could grow to a 10-year deal if the NFL decides to extend their contract with CBS. And why wouldn't you want Tony Romo, of all people, talking about your sport? So at the end of the day, Tony Romo is able to go out there with his Zen-like charm and be able to pull out his Nostradamus powers to be able to predict the future and what teams are running or should run in certain scenarios. And it's been absolutely amazing to watch this man work and the things he's done. And honestly, hats off to you, Tony Romo. Hats off to you. get paid and enjoy that $17 million, because I'm sure a lot of players would love to be in your position right now. So we'll definitely be able to see a lot more of you come later in this upcoming season. So it's going to be good. Next, give or go, the U.S. Professional Sports League seem to be getting spooked about coronavirus. We are going to give on this as well. It's been if you don't know anything about coronavirus, you need to get out from under a rock because they've been talking about this for some time now. Coronavirus did start over in Oriental Asia and now has started to spread little by little. We have already had multiple confirmed cases of people getting sick and contracting the virus here in the United States. However, we just had our first confirmed U.S. death in Washington State by a man who was in his 50s who contracted the virus. So this at this point now has spooked a lot of the major professional sports leagues, including the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball, among others, and are now going to be monitoring this entire global situation because there's a lot of fear now that people don't not only A, want to travel, but B, don't want to go out to events with large groups of people in fear of contracting the coronavirus. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this will play out. I feel that definitely they should take precaution. You don't want to be liable or have anything happen at any of your sporting events that could lead to a mass outbreak of any kind. However, you still have a certain duty to be able to put on these events. So you end up in a catch-22 of obviously wanting to hold your event, make your money, all that kind of stuff. But, you have to take the fans' best interest at heart, which is also why we've heard rumblings even from sports entertainment with WWE, who has talked about canceling WrestleMania 36 in Tampa Bay, Florida, if needed for fan safety because of the coronavirus. So it's definitely very interesting, especially for WWE to be able to step out and make that kind of a stand because WrestleMania, that's their Super Bowl. So, and it's usually held at the Super Bowl site the year before. But it's interesting that they're that willing to try and make sure that fan safety is put into the utmost importance and are willing to cancel their biggest event of the year, which is a week-long event when you take into account WWE fan access and all those kinds of things, that they would just cancel that just for everybody to make sure everybody's safe and not contribute to the spread of this virus. So it's going to be interesting. It's definitely something we're going to keep an eye on going on throughout the rest of the year, as this is definitely going to be an ever-changing situation. So definitely make sure that if you want to keep up to date on the latest and greatest when it comes to the coronavirus and how it's affecting American professional sports, definitely make sure to follow Final Score on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at PCN Final Score, because we will definitely have a lot more on this entire subject in the future. And also make sure to follow us on all of our content platforms, because I'm sure we're going to talk about this in the future as well on future episodes. So follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, Podbean, and of course Google Podcasts. So definitely make sure to check us out there, and we'll definitely have a lot more on this situation in the future. It's definitely going to be interesting given everything that's going on. It just been really crazy, but this has been an exciting little episode here with your very own Chris. So we'll definitely have to get to the end of it though, because we are now at the week ahead. And in the week ahead, there's a lot of great things that are going to be going on, including XFL Week 4. I can't forget that the great games that we have going on today between the Houston Roughnecks at 3-0, traveling to the Dallas Renegades at 2-1, 4 p.m. on FS1. Official pick, Houston Roughnecks, but we'll definitely see how it plays out. And then the DC Defenders at 2-1, coming off that huge upset loss to the LA Wildcats on the road, traveling down to Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay to take on the Vipers at 0-3, seeking their first win, 7 p.m. tonight on ESPN2. So definitely make sure you check that out. And dare I say, I'm going to say it's going to be another upset. Tampa Bay Vipers by 3. Anyways, we also are going to be having more MLB spring training. I know we haven't talked a lot about baseball, given everything with the scandal, because that's all we've talked about. But definitely make sure to check out some spring training games. There's going to be a lot of good ones going to be coming up. The Boston Red Sox have been playing meh at best, but it's been interesting to see what how a lot of people have been treating the Houston Astros ever since their scandal. So that's definitely something we'll touch on more also going into the future, and maybe even on episode 50. But speaking of episode 50, there will be no new episode of Final Score next week. Saying it loud and proud that there will be no episode 50 next week. Episode 50 will be taking place either on March 14th or March 15th. We'll definitely give you a solidified date here in the very near future. But we will have a lot of new stuff in store for episode 50. A lot of little changes to the setup, a lot of upgrades that are going to be happening. So a nice new and improved final score for episode 50. So definitely make sure that you come check it out. But in lieu of us having an episode next week, we will be having the Podcast City Network 2-year show. So definitely make sure you come out for the Podcast City Network 2-year anniversary show. That's going to be taking place March 7th at City Limits Tap Room in beautiful D-Land, Florida, 2620 North Woodland Boulevard. Come out, check it out. All ages are welcome. $10 cover. And there's going to be a lot of great stuff going on. Going to have a lot of great music starting at 8 p.m. when doors open for Seven Kingdoms Thicket and Rendered Abstract, as well as before the show starting at 5 p.m. We'll be hosting a lot of great interviews with all of these bands on our official Facebook page at facebook.com/Podcast City Network, and it's going to be great stuff. Chris Carnage is going to be there. You're going to have Everett Lee of the Everett Lee Show there. A lot of great stuff going on, so definitely make sure that you come out and check out this event. It is going to be great. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. But sadly, this is the end of our episode 49 here of Final Score. Definitely make sure, though, to check us out in a couple of weeks. Like I said, we will post the graphic and news on that once we have it, on when exactly episode 50 will be with all our new bells and whistles. It's going to be a great time, and definitely make sure to join us at the 2-year show. But until then, you need to follow everything Final Score on all of our social media outlets on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PCN Final Score. Check out all the great stuff that we have going on, and then check out all of our great content platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podbean, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts. And then check out all the great stuff we have there. Just search Final Score, one word, and you'll be able to find us there. But until next time, I am Chris. There is no Craig. And you just watch Final Score. Have yourselves a great night. Podcast City Network.